Hi, everybody. My name is Sherri Osaka. I'm a licensed landscape architect, and I'm a lifelong gardener. And I have focused my whole career on drought-tolerant plants and saving water and doing things with less chemicals and things like that. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. This is one of my favorite talks. We get a little hands-on with it. And I would like you to think about staying to the end because we do have a bunch of plants that we're going to give away. And we always love to have your comments. Your raffle, so to speak, will be the survey. And those surveys are really important to us. They give us good ideas for classes in the future. So please go ahead and fill those out. Please, if you want to be included in the raffle, put some kind of identifier on your survey. In fact, if you did that now, it would be really good. You know, a pet name, your name, email address, something so we can identify you. All right. So the topic today is maintaining native gardens and leak detection. Now, I'm saying native gardens. I'm a member of the California Native Plant Society. I volunteer for them. But actually, it's more like drought tolerant. So a lot of the things that I'm talking about would work for native plants and for drought-tolerant plants. I want to preface this by saying that I'm originally from Michigan, which is more indicative, the climate there is more indicative of, say, the rest of the world, right? We know that our Mediterranean climate is unusual, to say the least. So I really had to relearn gardening when I came here to California. I've been here a long time, like over 30 years. So, for example, when we prune in Michigan, we're thinking about pruning when things are dormant, which is, in Michigan, when? Winter. We think about, so when I came out here, I thought about pruning things in winter. That's not always the case. So here in California, a lot of times our growing season is the winter, right? We get the rains, the days get shorter and cooler in the fall, things start to grow in the fall. So sometimes, some things we prune in the winter, some things we prune in the summer. A lot of our plants kind of go a little dormant in the summer because I like to say that our summers are like a Michigan winter. Think about it. Our days are really long. We get tons and tons of sun. It's very hot. It's very hard on plants. So a lot of times they do a lot of their blooming in the spring, and then they kind of take a break. Now again, that's not true for all plants. There are some native plants that are really blooming and growing a lot, even in the summertime. So what I'm saying is it's confusing, and you just have to start to learn and know the plants a little bit. I wish there were some clear-cut rules that I could give you, but you're just going to have to really observe the plants, and we'll give you some rules to think about. Okay, so with that, our maintenance topics, we're going to talk a little bit about irrigation and leak detection, because usually, like in May, we're turning on the irrigation system. But we got some pretty good rains in May, so really now is a good time to start turning on your irrigation system. And so you want to do a couple of checks before that. We're going to talk a little bit about lawn removal. Does anybody have lawn that they're thinking about removing? Okay, a couple of you. So we will talk about that. We're going to talk tiny bit on design, mostly on planting, because that's a really important topic. A little bit on soil care, propagation, eliminating weeds, pruning, watering, and some of my favorite tools. So we've got a lot to cover. We're going to get going. All right. So one thing that's really important is to think about your maintenance budget. And when we think about budget, a lot of times we think about dollars, but no, I'm thinking about time. So you have to think realistically about how much time it takes you to maintain your garden. I typically spend an hour or two a week. That's me. I have a fairly big garden. I have a big vegetable garden. That's kind of what I spend on it. But I also have people come out and do big time pruning for me, things like that. So think about how much time do you really want to spend in the garden, right? And how much time your garden requires. Kind of equate the two. If you need help, yes, get help. You can't do it all. And I'll be giving you lots of tips on how to work smarter, okay? Because spending your whole day weeding is not fun. Probably my least favorite task. Okay, but I also want to talk about, now, have any of you heard about this study before in Santa Monica Garden? Has anybody? No? Oh, good. All right, so this is great. The city of Santa Monica took two pieces of property. They are both, I think they're like admin buildings for the university or something. So they took two properties, and for a number of years, they landscaped them differently, and they measured the outputs, the inputs and the outputs, okay? They're right next door to each other. So it's a really good test. So here you can see they did some foundation planting, and they have lawn, and they have lawn in the parking strip. This is what we would consider a more traditional garden, right? And we're going to try to move everybody towards something that's a little bit more like this. So what we see here is a gravel pathway with a nice concrete border on it, some decomposed granite, or we call that DG paving in the parking strip. Oh, look, a nice native meadow, and then some plants here that are all kind of drought tolerant, little pot, things like that. Okay, more of a native garden. So they measured the water use. Oh my God, look at that compared to that. So they saved a ton in water, which you would imagine, right? A lawn typically takes an inch of water a week. A lawn is European lawn is a high water garden item. A drought tolerant plant typically takes a quarter of an inch. So you can see an inch versus a quarter of an inch, you're saving about 75% of your typical irrigation by switching over. There was also a lot less garden waste. You weren't sending those clippings out to the landfill or something. But this is the one that I like to concentrate on, and that's 71% labor. And I found that in my own garden. When I moved in, I had lawn in the front and in the back. Slowly, I put lawn in the front because it was sunnier, got rid of the lawn in the back, and then slowly got rid of the lawn in the front. And I am so happy to not be mowing lawn anymore. I do have a native meadow, but it requires much, much less maintenance than that. So by changing some things, getting rid of some lawn, you're really going to be saving yourself a lot of water and also a lot of time.